I just want to welcome you guys back to the DIY Daily Dude channel, where we do DIY dude stuff on a daily. Today I got a good treat for you guys. I'm going to show you guys how to make a Neapolitan style pizza from scratch. The dough is from scratch, the sauce is from scratch, I guess you could say. And it's going to be fresh mozzarella cheese. This is just going to be a basic cheese pizza. So just stay tuned and take a few notes. If you need to, just rewind the video. But this is probably the best Neapolitan style pizza I've ever had. So here we go. So the first thing that we have to make to get this dough going is what they call the Polish. It's pre-fermented dough. So here we go. You're going to need 300 milliliters of room temperature water. You're going to need 5 grams of dry yeast. 5 grams of honey. Let's stir this in really good. Get everything mixed together before we add our flour. This flour is 00 flour. This isn't all-purpose flour. You have to buy it in a specialty store or on Amazon or somewhere. And we're gonna add 300 grams of 00 flour. Alright guys, once you add the flour, go ahead and stir this up really good to combine everything. And once everything is combined, you're going to sit it out on the counter at room temperature for 1 hour. And then you're going to place it in the refrigerator for 16 to 24 hours. Make sure your container is big enough so that the yeast can grow twice as big, and make sure you have a lid on it. Alright guys, now that your Polish has been in the refrigerator for 16 to 24 hours, let's go ahead and get everything we need to make the dough. Go ahead and pull your Polish out, let it get to room temperature. And we're going to need 700 milliliters of room temperature water. We're going to need 1,250 grams of 00 flour. And we're also going to need 30 grams of sea salt. Let's combine the full contents of the Polish to the room temperature water. What you want to do is stir until fully combined. You'll see it start to break down and kind of become liquefied with the water. Then what you want to do is add about half of the flour. You don't want to try to pour it all in there. You want to do this in a slow process. So half the flour, and go ahead and stir that until it's fully combined. And at this point, we want to go ahead and put in that 30 grams of salt. Stir that in to combine. And then we'll go ahead and add in the rest of that flour and just keep stirring until everything's fully mixed. Alright guys, at this point, it's going to look like a big mess. But go ahead and dump what you got out on the table. What we're going to do is we're going to try to knead this dough into shape. Basically what you want to do is push it and flip it. You're trying to create like a ball. You'll see here what I'm trying to do. I want to create like a ball, and it's going to be very sticky at this point. What we're going to do is once we get it into a halfway of a shape, we're going to cover it up and let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. Alright guys, it's been 20 minutes. Go ahead and remove your bowl. Get your pizza spatula, and we're going to start working this dough a little bit more. Basically what you want to do is you want to tuck the outside corners in to form a dough ball. Now that you got your dough ball formed, Let's go ahead and get this thing in a bowl so it can start rising. What I like to do is oil the inside of a bowl, slap that baby in the bowl. We're gonna throw the lid on it, and we're gonna let this thing rise out on the countertop for 1 hour. 1 hour, leave this thing just sitting. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is put some oil in your hands. At this point, we're gonna start using oil to help us with stickiness. So go ahead and rub some oil in your hands. Then we're gonna dump this dough ball out on the counter. At this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna divide this dough ball into 3 equal sections. Each section is gonna yield you 3 dough balls of 250 grams apiece. So at the end, we'll have 9 dough balls. Now that she's cut up into somewhat equal sections, what you're looking for is 250 grams a piece of these dough balls. This size should give you 9 dough balls, which would be 9 pizzas. What you want to do is you want to form this, tuck it under, just like you did the big dough ball. You're basically just going to tuck the sides under until it forms a nice little dough ball, and then we're going to put them in containers, and then that's it. And now that you have your 9 dough balls shaped up, let's go ahead and get some semolina flour. This is different than the 00 flour. You want the semolina flour, and what you want to do is, I use individual bowls. It's just easier for me because I can put one in each bowl and put a lid on it. What you want to do is you want to coat the bottom of each bowl with some semolina flour and put the dough ball in it. And then we're going to put the lids on the dough balls. We're going to let them sit on the counter for 1 hour at room temperature. Also guys, if you don't plan on cooking all 9 of these pizzas, after they rise on the countertop for an hour, go ahead and throw them in the refrigerator overnight, and then the next day you can take the containers and put them in the freezer. Once they're frozen, you can actually take them out of the containers and put them in freezer lock Ziploc bags, and they'll keep in your freezer for about 4 months. So while your dough balls are rising, this hour that they're sitting on the countertop, it'll be a perfect time to go ahead and preheat your oven. So as high as it'll go, because it takes about an hour to preheat. Alright guys, now that your dough has completely rise and you're ready to start cooking your pizza, let's get everything we're going to need. This is a mixture of 00 flour and semolina flour, 50-50. And I got my mozzarella cheese, my sauce, and of course my dough ball. And I apologize guys, I forgot to record the actual me making the sauce, but it was super simple. This is what I use, and I basically dump this into my Vitamix blender because it has a lot of big chunk tomatoes. If you like the chunk tomatoes, then you can just blend this lightly, but I blended it pretty good to get rid of the chunks. And I just added 1 tablespoon of salt and a few splashes of olive oil and just mix that in, and that's pretty much all it was. Now that I've verified that my oven is up to temperature, we're ready to start making some pizza. So go ahead and grab your dough ball, take that 50-50 mixture of flour, go ahead and sprinkle a little bit on top, and remember, the top of your dough ball right there is going to be the top of your pizza. So when you flip it out like I'm doing here, remember, the top of the pizza is actually face down right now. And you just want to put a little bit of flour on both sides to keep it from sticking, and you want to work this dough ball out to about 10 inches. Pushing the air out of the center. Now that you have your pie formed to about 10 inches, you want to lift it up and you want to get that flour out the way. That will prevent the bottom from burning in the oven. The way we're going to bake this pie is considered a double bake method. what we're going to do is all we're going to put on it at first is the olive oil around the crust and the marinara. We're going to pop it in the oven and let that crust start to rise. Once the crust starts to rise, we're going to take it out of the oven. Then we're going to add the cheese, because the cheese cooks a lot faster than the crust does. So you got to do it this way so it comes out just right. So right here, I put the marinara on first and then I put the olive oil on. I would suggest putting the olive oil on first, just so it doesn't mix with the marinara, and it's a lot easier to put on before. Learn from my mistakes. And now that you have the olive oil on and the sauce, we're going to get our pizza peel. You just want to slide it under the edge and do it really quick like that, and it shouldn't stick at all. I haven't had any problems with any of my dough sticking. And you want to just basically form it to this. I have a 12-inch pizza peel, which makes the perfect size Neapolitan pizza. So just form it to your peel, and then we're going to get this thing in the oven. Alright guys, now that you have this thing in the oven, what we're looking for is the crust to be slightly brown. I'll do a little close-up right here. You want it to just start to rise, and then you want to pull the thing out, and then we're going to put the cheese on top. This is where you would want to put your toppings on after it starts to rise a little bit. And my personal favorite cheese is the fresh mozzarella pearls over the shredded mozzarella. I had the shredded mozzarella last night actually, and to me, these pearls are way better. They're thicker pieces of cheese. They take more time to melt, which lets the crust get a lot crispier. To me, the shredded mozzarella just burns too fast. I just prefer these. So guys, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for the cheese to start to bubble, and you're looking for the crust to be nice and crispy. At this point, you want to go ahead and pull this thing out. Also guys, when you're pulling this pizza out, keep it as flat as possible. The cheese is so hot, if you tilt it just the slightest bit, the cheese is going to run to one side. So keep it as flat as possible, and we're going to try to let the cheese solidify before we cut into it. Alright guys, take a listen to this crunchy crust, and it's also very soft. It's soft and crunchy. Soft and crunchy. And that's it guys. If you follow this recipe to the T, you'll achieve your own perfect Neapolitan pizza. I just want to thank you guys for stopping by and checking out my video. If you made it this far, go ahead and like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing, and there'll be more great cooking videos coming soon.